Well, the ANC's Enoch Godongwana is now holds the country's purse strings. eNCA business editor Devon Murugan is looking at how the markets are reacting to the news. Devon?
Yes, indeed. And Tulos, good morning. I mean, the reaction thus far has been mixed in the business fraternity. There's an expectation that Enoch Godongwana will continue with a conservative approach to spending, staying away from heavy taxes. He supports a strategic pro-growth approach to the economy. We've heard him say that before recently, so there's a thumbs up from Business Unity South Africa. But Tulos, he does have a checkered history in government, having resigned as a deputy minister over a corruption scandal, you'll remember, in 2012. So a bit of a mixed spot. The rand, by the way, didn't show any negative signs to this appointment. In other words, it still stayed pretty reasonably static against the US dollar through the announcement. But I want to bring in Kevin Lings, Chief Economist at Stanlib, for more. Kevin, thanks very much for talking to us. Enoch Godongwana, he's been very influential on ANC economic policy, and I suppose on government policy for that matter. Now he's finance minister. What do you make of the appointment?
Look, I suppose anytime you change the finance minister, it's going to create some concerns, I guess, particularly in South Africa, because it's such a critical role and obviously important in terms of how the economy moves forward. As you said, I think the markets have been fairly neutral in their reaction to Enoch's appointment. I think people understand that Enoch has been involved in economic policy development in South Africa for many years. He understands the economic background in this country incredibly well. He understands the policy agenda. He's formulated a hell of a lot of our policies. So I think that the markets will probably adopt a wait-and-see approach to see what his own particular angle he's going to introduce in terms of the finance ministry. Obviously, in the short term, he's got a couple of key challenges. The one is to ensure that the revenue overrun is managed appropriately, and that's going to, I think, be his first test. We're in this favorable position where we're collecting more tax revenue because of the commodity price boom and some exports. And so he needs to deploy that in a very meaningful way and not squander that opportunity. And then obviously we've got the October medium-term budget, which has been pushed out now to November. And that's going to be, I guess, the first test of what is his overall approach to fiscal policy. I don't think initially you're going to see much change. I think what we've had in the past will be pretty much what will continue on. And then I think over time he'll introduce his own flavor.
Kevin, if I could just come in there, I beg your pardon. It does seem to be, as you say, pro-growth. I mean, measured on spending. It does come across as moderate when it comes to, let's say, economic policy. So I would imagine, you know, from an institutional perspective, there's not going to be much change there.
That's right. We're not expecting to see much change. I think the one area where Enoch's been a little bit more in favor of is an income grant for the country, and we know that's being hotly debated at the moment. The fact that we've extended 350 Rand through to the end of the next fiscal year. Enoch's generally been supportive of a basic income grant, but I think at the same time he's mindful of the overall budget situation, and I don't think he's going to advocate for government to spend money simply because of some sort of political need. I think he'll be mindful of where our tax revenue sits. I think he is pro-growth, he's pro-infrastructure investment, he's pro-small business. I think he recognizes the importance of lifting growth and employment in this country. So I'm not expecting, and that's actually pretty much what Tito was about.
Yep.
So to me, the question is implementation. Can he do a better job in implementing some of these policies?
I want to bring something else in here before I let you go, Kevin. I mean, it's not really a clean sheet, though, for Enoch Godongwana. In 2004, he was fired by the Eastern Cape's former premier following a report into financial irregularities. You'll remember there was an issue of that missing billions from the South African Clothing and Textile Workers Union Pension Fund. I mean, I'm not quite sure whether the previous finance ministers had those little tags along with it when they came in. But Does that act against him in the broader economy when it comes to investment or not? I believe it should in some way have some sort of a weighting.
Absolutely. It's already, those stories have been circulated quite widely, certainly in the financial markets. International investors are asking questions around those incidents, trying to find out more detail. And obviously, there is still a question mark around those because I'm not sure they were entirely resolved. So it's something that Enoch's going to have to deal with because I think will keep coming up. And I think there's going to have to be some clarity around those issues, or at least some assurance that they've been looked at and there's no outstanding issue. Because it's the role of National Treasury, it's absolutely critical in terms of the credibility of South Africa's fiscal position, the credit ratings, all of those things are certainly tied up to the credibility of the finance minister.
Kevin Lings, Chief Economist at Stanlib, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. I mean, Tulis, there you have it. So, Kevin Lings telling us there what we probably expect, that there's going to have to be some clarity or resolve on some of those issues because credibility is very important indeed, especially with a department like this.
Without a doubt, Devin, credibility is everything in this particular instance. I mean, some will be asking why these issues from the past are suddenly resurfacing. And I think the answer is obvious, because he's going into a position of public trust, right? And we've made that mistake previously of trusting people that we should not have trusted with the public purse. And we've all seen what has transpired, the many, many reports, the scandals that we're dealing with, including digital vibes. So it's absolutely important for the incoming finance minister to take the nation into his confidence when he said he would pay back those workers from that scandal. Did that actually happen? Or, once the dust had settled, he then kept quiet and nothing happened from that front. So it will be important.
I want to bring in, if I can, just one quick thing that I hope changes. I mean, we need more accessibility to the Treasury.
Absolutely.
We've spoken about this before. I think we're not the only media institution that says we need to speak to the big figures in Treasury and a bit more often than we normally do, Tulis.
Yeah. I have a feeling you are not going to be invited to have pilchards in Makhubas Kloof and avocados. Devin Murugan watching that situation then, getting reaction to the appointment of Enoch Godongwana as the new finance minister.